One, two, three. Three count four.
Hello, I am Be Better Gamer. Welcome to Be Better Gamer Wrestling. This channel is focused on my love of wrestling video games. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. If this is your first time watching it, welcome. I hope you enjoy the video. I hope you stick around. Today I am playing Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. I am bringing another created wrestler, a CAW, if you will, for Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. This is a very timely CAW, something I should have done a few weeks ago, a few months ago even, but I am going to be showing you how I made Chris Jericho in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, the alpha of professional wrestling, the best in the world. Chris Jericho. I have 4 different outfits there to show you. I'm just spitting them around. Obviously, we're coming off the heels of his amazing match with Kenny Omega in Wrestle Kingdom 12. I'll talk about that after I show you guys how I did the call. But, you know, first things first, I'm going to show off just how I made him. The profile, the fighting style, the computer logic, the moves, everything is going to be in the description below in a nice template. See, I'm showing you real quick. All this stuff is filled out. I'm just not going to show it because it's easier to just show it in a document. So if you look in the description below, you can find all that typed out. And if you notice, everything's in English. I am using the Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 translation patch. I am running this on my EverDrive. I recently uploaded a video that I lost all my WF No Mercy on cartridge, so now I'm kind of scared that all my cartridges are going to disappear with data, so I'm now converting all to using the ROMs. But here we go. I'm jumping right into it. Head 2, face 17, hair 1, front hair 98. So if you notice right away, obviously his face is not in the game, but I'm basing his appearance sort of what he looked like in WrestleMania 2000. And I do a little trick here because Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 doesn't really have good like facial hair when it comes to people who have light facial hair. So what I did was I put the shortest goatee I can find, and then I put sideburns, and that gave him a little bit of like the stubble that he would have. It's still a little bit maybe too dark for my liking, but it gets the job done. You can go without it. You don't have to do that. His tights are the Power Warrior tights that you have to unlock, and you can check out my Kensuke Sasuke video where I talk about how you unlock them. And then I gave him the biker vest for his entrance. We have wristband 1, very basic with the accessories. Knee pad 2, because they have the little white marking on there that probably shows the brand name. I'm guessing that's what it's supposed to show. And then padded 3, obviously they don't have his boots that say Jericho on the side, but you want the boots that go up to the knee pads, so I thought that was the best one. You could also use the other padded boots, whatever you want. It's personal preference. For his second attire, basically all I did was just change the colors on all the alternate outfits. His second attire is based on his appearances in New Japan back in '97. And then this is a variation of the classic Lionheart look, which was the first design you saw. This is his black and yellow. You actually saw a variation of that like when he was in WCW early on. And this is his silver outfit that I actually basically based it on his Ultimo Dragon match, or his match with Ultimo Dragon, I should say, in War in 1995, which was the match that put the world on notice early on for Chris Jericho when he was in Japan in the beginning. So that's my Chris Jericho call. Again, check the description below. You know, let me know what you think. After this, I'm just gonna go ahead and play a match and talk a little bit more about what's been going on with Jericho and my other reasonings, you know, for what I did with the call, things I changed based on his WCW NWO Revenge appearance, WrestleMania 2000, WWF No Mercy. And, you know, there's not a lot of tights options, I would say, that work well for Chris Jericho. I always seem to always be coming back to those tights, the Power Warrior tights, and in No Mercy, they're called like Original 2 tights. They just seem to just work well for a lot of guys. I love also, I have to say, with this Virtual Pro Wrestling translation patch, I can fit in the whole name, Chris Jericho. If you're making this off of the straight N64 cartridge, or if you're not using the translation patch, if you're just using the regular Japanese version, you're not going to be able to fit Chris Jericho fully. The O won't fit. So I think that's kind of funny. I did have to unlock Ultimate Dragon all over again because, like I said, I've been doing all my Let's Plays and CAWs on my N64 cartridge, but now I'm going to start moving everything to the EverDrive. So I had to unlock Ultimate Dragon, and I could have chosen someone else to wrestle. I could have chosen El Samurai, Jericho and El Samurai. They had a great match at the Best of the Super Junior tournament in 1997 that you can find on New Japan World. I could have had him take on Gato, or a team with Gato. Chris Jericho, I mean, if you're watching this video, you know who Chris Jericho is, so I'm not going to go in too much detail, but, back in the early days of his wrestling career, when he first went to Japan, he wrestled for Wrestle Association R, which was WAR, which was founded by Genichiro Tenryu in 1992. And for WCW NWO World Tour fans or Revenge fans, that's DAW Wrestling, DAW, as I like to call it, Dead or Alive Wrestling, which was like they took FMW and they combined it with WAR, and that's what they did in the games. And I think even in Fire Pro it's called DAW because they couldn't use the real name. But he was the first junior heavyweight tag team champion with Gato. Obviously, Gato's now the head creative booker for New Japan Pro Wrestling, so they have a very strong friendship. I could have had them, team up. I could have recreated some of the other tag team matches that you can find on New Japan Pro Wrestling World. He teams up with Eddie Guerrero as Black Tiger 2 against Tatsuhito Takiyawa and Shinjiro Otani for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. You can see him with Koji Kanemoto against Liger and El Samurai. So you can do all those guys in this game. But of course, I chose Ultimate Dragon, who's in WCW NWO Revenge. And I could just basically play WCW NWO Revenge with Chris Jericho and Ultimate Dragon. But you know what? Jericho's in Japan, baby. And he's taken the world by storm all over again. It never ceases to amaze me how Chris Jericho just manages to reinvent himself, especially with his performance recently in Wrestle Kingdom 12. I've seen the match twice so far. I'll probably watch it again today while I work on my other Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 content that I have planned for the next few weeks. It's just a great match, and to think, his beginnings were so humble in Japan, and of course he went to WCW and WWE and blew up to be this mega star, and he comes back. I believe his last appearance at the Tokyo Dome was when he was Super Liger, so it wasn't, it's something he's written about in his books that he doesn't look too fondly on that moment in Japan, and I think that maybe always in the back of his mind maybe was like something, man, I wish I could just have one more great Japan run, and he did it, man. And it looks like it's not over yet, especially with what happened at New Year Dash, where he attacked Naito. But watching the Kenny Omega match going into Wrestle Kingdom, I was expecting the Okada Naito match to be my favorite match. I gotta be honest, and not to say like Omega Jericho wasn't gonna be great, but it was so hyped up, and I didn't want the hype to ruin the match for me. I was like, let me just temper my expectations. It's gonna be great, but let's not like try to make it to be the best match ever. And it was definitely one of the best matches I've seen in a long time. And it's crazy to think about. I wouldn't say I underestimated the ability of Jericho and Omega to put on a fantastic match. It's just, in wrestling, sometimes we hype things so much that when we finally get to the match, the guys just can't, compare to the hype. Think of Sting in WWE. Think of, a lot of stuff that happened recently in wrestling that just hasn't lived up to the hype, and they went past the hype. Now let me get to the moves, because I'm coming up to the special right now. His front special in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 I made to be what it was in WCW NWO Revenge, which is the sidewalk slam right into your submission hold, for your leg submission hold. This is something they took out of in WWF No Mercy, And I was kind of disappointed that they took it out in WWF No Mercy, but they did compensate for the fact that, like, in WWF No Mercy, they added finishers for submission holds, so, you know, it balanced out, I guess. But in WrestleMania 2000, his finisher was the triple powerbomb pin, so I just gave that to him as one of his strong grapples. I believe I gave it to him as his down B strong grapple, and I gave him his sidewalk submission here. His double, I gave him the double underhook suplex for his turnbuckle. A lot of the moves are based on his, you know, again, he's evolved over the years. He's still evolving as we all. There's the triple power bomb. He's still evolving as we saw with his Chris Jericho, Omega match, Alpha versus Omega. I mean, but his moveset for here is based off of those early Japanese matches in War, in New Japan, early ECW, even early WCW. And so he's flying around a little bit more. He's got a little bit more power stuff too, because since he feuded with a lot of the junior heavyweights, Jericho was always a little bit bigger than a lot of the other junior heavyweights, so he was throwing more power bombs, more suplexes. You know, you saw early in the match I gave him a tiger suplex. But even, you know, he could brawl, he can wrestle, he can high fly. Jericho could do it all, man, which is another reason why he still manages to stay relevant and evolve, because he knows how to adapt his style and the way he works. And I think Jericho, at the end of the day, it's not about his wrestling moves. There's the Lion Tamer, old school Lion Tamer. Wasn't that moment great when he did the Lion Tamer? He did it twice. When he did it to the ref's son on the outside, and then when he did it to Omega, you know, as the match was getting closer to the finale. So yeah, that's what I did for his moves, because I wanted this to be, you know, again, this game came out in 2000, you know, so WrestleMania 2000 was already out. We were waiting for No Mercy, so I wanted this Jericho to be reflective of what he was like in those other Aki games. That's what I try to do sometimes with a lot of the wrestlers who were around at the time. And you know, you could make a modern Jericho call. I mean, there's not really much you would change. Honestly, it would just really be appearance. So if you, you know, let me know if you guys do that. If you take this call and for his alternate outfit, you give him what he looked like at Wrestle Kingdom 12. You know, you gave him his alpha attire, I guess you can call it, because he had alpha on the back of his tights. And here we go, the big spinning wheel kick. You know, they don't have, in WWF No Mercy, they added that, like, flying forearm that Jericho would do. Big dive that Dragon just swats me away and dances. I love Ultimo Dragon. Again, I could have chose anyone else, but I went with Ultimo Dragon. Ultimo Dragon and Chris Jericho. I got a lot of WCW NW Revenge videos. And like I mentioned earlier, you know, I could have done, you know, Otani or Takeyawa, and I could have done Jericho teaming up with Black Tiger, because I've made, if you check out my other Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 calls, I've made Black Tiger as, you know, Eddie Guerrero, and I've made Wild Pegasus, Chris Benoit. You know, Jericho fought Wild Pegasus a few times. There's a match of theirs, you know, tag team match with Wild Pegasus and Jericho there, 6-man tag. Jericho in the Super J Cup 95 had a great match with Wild Pegasus. And right before Wrestle Kingdom, you know, Jericho put a tweet, he put an Instagram post that one of his fans made with Jericho and Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit in the background, and Jericho retweeted it. He retweeted it twice because he liked it so much. And you know, what a feeling to be back where you started almost, you know what I mean? And to be back at the top. And you know, it's a shame that his, you know, closest friends weren't there to see him, but you gotta believe that, you know, if you believe in that stuff, you gotta believe that maybe they were looking and watching that night. You know, obviously Jericho did a nod to Eddie Guerrero during the match when he was laying on the turnbuckle. But yeah, you could, if you check out my Black Tiger call, my Wild Pegasus call, now you got Chris Jericho. I mean, it's complete. The triple threat, it's complete, right? You know, these were, at the time, the junior heavyweight scene, you know, these are some of the best wrestlers on the planet at the time, and you know, they solidified their legacy. So now Jericho's back in Japan, he's back home, he's at New Japan in real life, and now he's in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 in the video game world. So I hope you enjoyed this call. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what tweaks or modifications you've made. Check out my other Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 Let's Plays and my Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 calls, as well as WWF No Mercy and WrestleMania 2000 calls. So yeah, let me know what you think. I always like feedback. I like seeing what people change and alter. It's always great to see. Until next time, stay tuned for my Wrestle Kingdom 12 review where I go a little bit more in depth of how I felt about the whole event. But until then, I am Be Better Gamer. Thank you for watching. As always, keep watching all the wrestling.